table. I do feel like, I just think simply they've lost more talent in 2025 than they gained from 2024, if that makes sense. Vince and Abbas are the obvious ones. I think if you looked at the kind of contributions over the last 3 or 4 years, you'd probably say Vince and Abbas were in the top two of the top 5 contributors for Hampshire. So just losing them is a really big deal, and I know Hampshire would have known that. But the replacements, the kind of direct replacements they had in Baker and Stoneman, I think, especially at this kind of they're not of the same caliber of player, and I think especially at this point of their career, Stoneman maybe if they had signed a 30-year-old Mark Stoneman, I'd be saying something very different. And Sonny Baker, he's just a very young cricketer. He's a 22-year-old, and just to be of the talent level of someone like Mohamed Abbas at that age, it's just unlikely. Simply put, I think Mohamed Abbas hadn't even made a sort of first-class debut at that time. So again, it's not really to sort of bash those two players particularly. It's just a bit of a what came in does not match what came out sort of thing. I mean, they also moved on, and not something I mentioned throughout, they also moved on from Ian Holland on a sort of permanent basis. They loaned him out to Leicestershire last year, and then they've let him go. He's having a brilliant start to his season for Leicestershire, and Leicestershire are an absolute flying. So I wonder whether or not they'll be looking at it sort of a bit like, oh wow, it would be handy to have Ian Holland in our setup right now. Maybe not. But it's an interesting one again. It's another talented cricketer who's left the doors of Hampshire in the last little while. I think players such as Tom Preston, Ben Brown, I think they'll need, in the batting department, they'll need to have bigger seasons. And again, it's just making up for, I think, and Nick Gubbins, obviously, but it's just making up for sort of someone like James Vince. And it is about 1,000 runs a season you're trying to make up from other sort of the sum of the parts that are left. And it's just an interesting one to see. Similarly, on the sort of bowling side of it, bowlers like Wheel, Fuller and Turner and Baker, as I mentioned, will need to make up for those sort of lost wickets of Abbas and Barker to begin this season. I think, Hampshire have got plenty of talent in their lineup and plenty of strength and depth in their squad. So I'm sure they will continue to be of the standard. I just think it's whether or not they've replaced near title winning side, and the players that have left are not of the title winning capabilities. I think Hampshire will probably end up being in the top half of the table. I think it's just a case of I don't know if they've got quite enough to really, really challenge for a title against Surrey.